and welcome. My name is Tim, and I'm starting this series in order to try and teach, hopefully, some C# to people who are interested. Also, for my own personal interest, just to see how it goes, as well as hopefully, in terms of my own personal development, I'm hoping to improve my ability to explain myself concisely and improve my just general public speaking. So hopefully this will work for both of us. Anyway, I hope you find it helpful, and if you find anything you like or dislike, feel free to comment, and I'll try and take it under advisement for future videos. Right, so to start off, let's create a new project. For this project, I'm going to be doing a Hello World equivalent for C#. So let's go with Hello Tutorials. As you might have spotted, I have one here from earlier, but that's because my audio settings were even more rubbish than they possibly are now. But we'll see. And we're going to go with the framework 4.62. And let's console it, because it's the most straightforward one to start with. And we're going to write a couple of lines. So the first thing is going to be console.writeLine hello tutorial viewers, and then we're going to do console.readLine, or read key actually. Okay, and then you put a semicolon on the end. So I will quickly show you what this outputs. So you can go start up here, or you can hit F5 and give it a second. And this is basically the output of our program. So it just generates a console window and outputs the text hello tutorial viewers. Not complicated, but I think it gives a nice template as to explain the basic syntax for C#. Let's see how I go, because I've not read a textbook in a fair while. So first off, we have a using statement up here. So this lets you access code from different libraries. In this case, the system library, which is part of the .NET framework. The method we're using from that are console. So if you mouse over, you can see it's the system.console class. The reason these ones are slightly greyed out is because I have a extension called resharper, which just tells me that these are redundant. So if we just stop the program a second and delete them, we can just ignore those essentially. And then I'll start up again. So yeah, as you can see, no change in the behaviour of the program, which is reasonable. And next you've got a namespace. So this is it's like a district declaration. So you're saying I'm from London or something. And this is so that you can have programs and methods that have similar names without having conflicts. So you could have someone who writes a method that extracts a file from a folder, and then 10 people have written it, and they wrote the same name, extract file, and then there's no way of identifying what version of the extract file to use. So that's what this allows us to do. Lets you be more specific, essentially. Next up, you've got class. So class is essentially a blueprint for an object. So in this case, it's the program object, and in the program object which is encompassed by these brackets. You've got the method called main, and it is of type static, which means that you don't need to create a copy or an instance of program in order to use it. So an example of that would be, I'll just stop it running a second, would be this system.maths library. So in the maths class or library, you've got a bunch of mathematical functions. So I'm going to go with pi because it's the one I recognise quickly. And as you could probably guess, you don't really have to create an object of maths to be able to know what pi is. So this is why it's done this way. So you can go maths, just get pi basically. So for ours it would be program.main. Does essentially the same thing. If you didn't have static, then you have to create a copy of this. So let's just change that so to go with public. And then, oh, give me a second. You then would have to go var program equals new program. So this declares a variable. So that's var. The variable is called my program, and this is then create a new copy of the program class and assigned it to my program, because then you can go my program.main. So as you can see, you have to do these extra steps, whereas if it's static you wouldn't need to do this. I hope that's sort of clear, but it's we'll go into more detail hopefully further on in another tutorial. But anyway, I'm going to just change this back a second. So back to static, you can get rid of this, get rid of this white space, just to make it a bit easier to read. So the next thing you've got is void. So this is the return type for the method. It's essentially when the method completes, if it's going to give you anything afterwards. So you might have again, let's go with another mathematical example. So if you had a method called, let's just quick one, sorry, static int add number 1 and int number 2. So in this one we've got again static, so it could be called from program like so, like that. But then you've got two integers. So an integer is basically a whole number. There are different variations of that, which for different ranges, but pretty much int covers the majority of cases that you'll most likely need, at least early on anyway. So you've got number 1 and number 2. So these are the parameters go into the add method. So I have 2 and 3, and then So because this is int, you have to see, because it says method return value is never used. So we can go return number 1 plus number 2, end with a semicolon. So now if we can go console dot write line, and as you might expect, hopefully we're going to get a actually let's put this above this read key. So this read key is just so that the application doesn't end immediately. So if I comment this out with a double forward slash and just run the program again, you'll see that the program will open and close pretty much very quickly. So for tutorial purposes that's not particularly useful. So you delete the comment again and then run. So now we have 5. Glorious. Most advanced program in the world. But anyway, hoping that gives you a nice straightforward example of parameters. So, and the return type. So now that we've done that, I'm sure you can see what this args is. So in this case you've got a variable type of string. So a string is like this, a series of characters, text basically. And then the name for the args. So the big difference between this and this one is the square brackets, and this turns it into just a single string like this into an array, which is essentially a list of strings. So you would have something like, let's just stop the execution of the program a second so I can write some more code and hopefully give you a nice example. You'd have actually let's quickly create another method, because I want to keep this as just the executing part of the program. So let's have a static string combine strings, and then this is going to take a string array of my chain of strings. Right, and this will then return actually let's go with for each. Okay, so some of this was added because some helper method stuff I have, but let's go for each. So for each individual string called line in story, I think let's try and make this a bit clearer. So for every line in the story of my chain of strings, we want to combined strings. So let's just declare a empty string and call it string.empty, which just is blank, it's not got anything in it yet. and then for each line in the story, we're going to go combine string dot d equals combine strings plus the line in the story. So this will add each of the strings in this list or in the chain to this variable, and then once that's done, we're going to return the combined strings. So I know I paused there for a bit. Hopefully when I run this you'll see what I mean. So let's quickly write a example of this. So combine the strings once upon a time. Tim tried to teach C#. He hoped he was somewhat successful, but really, he had no clue. Right. And we need to go new string array like this. And this is so that each of these will go into here. That will combine them and then return that value. But this return value is not used for anything. But so let's wrap it in the console write line method. So now, hopefully, actually let's add some spacing here as well. So put space after each of these, just to make it a bit easier to read when we run the program. And there you go. So, once upon a time, Tim tried to teach C# and hoped he was somewhat successful, but he really had no clue. I have gone far beyond the scope of a standard Hello World program. I'm well aware of this. Anyone who's judging me on this point, but I hope really that it gives anyone new, or as new as I think they could potentially be, a straightforward hopefully a somewhat straightforward example. So that's essentially what you would have for what you could use from main. So one of the common purposes of that would be something like so in some of the old, so I guess in some of the command line programs, so you would have an option, so like I'm trying to think of a common example where one might have used. So I guess depending on how old you are, you might have seen scan disk. No, hang on. Oh, I'm absolutely dreadful at coming up with examples on the fly. But the sense what it can be used for is to give a program or a method more specific instructions. So you could have something like a trader and if you told him the parameter talk, then he would say hello. Whereas if you sent the parameter what's for sale, then he might show you his shop or something. Well, anyway, I hope this has been somewhat successful. I'm going to now try and put this on YouTube and see what happens. Oh, that'd be amusing. Right, hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you next time when we'll hopefully cover some more potentially random aspects of C# in a non-accurate and practical way of learning, but we will see how it goes. Right, thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.